There's exactly one animal on Earth that will never die of old age. It can't get cancer. It doesn't deteriorate. It doesn't slow down. And when it gets injured, stressed, or starts to age, it reverses time. It transforms its adult body back into a baby and starts its life over again. It can do this forever. Theoretically, it could outlive every species on Earth, including us. Scientists call it Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. And according to every law of biology we understand, it shouldn't exist. This is beyond biology. Let's find out how the only immortal animal on Earth broke the rules of life and death. The story begins in the Mediterranean Sea. In the summer of 1988, a German marine biology student named Christian Sommer was collecting jellyfish samples near Italy. He found hundreds of tiny jellyfish, barely the size of a pinky fingernail, and brought them back to his lab to study. And then he forgot about them. He left them in a tank. Didn't feed them, didn't change the water. Stressed, starving, these jellyfish should have died. But when he returned days later, they hadn't died. They had transformed. The adult jellyfish had sunk to the bottom of the tank, attached themselves to the surface, and turned into something completely different. They'd become polyps. The baby stage of jellyfish development. Tiny plant-like organisms stuck to the seafloor. Christian Sommer had witnessed something no scientist had ever documented. An adult animal reversing its life cycle. Going backwards in time. He published his findings in 1996. The paper was titled, "Reversing the Life Cycle, Medusa Transforming into Polyps." And the scientific community barely noticed. It was too strange. Too impossible. It had to be a fluke. Except it wasn't. A Japanese marine biologist named Shin Kubota became obsessed with Turritopsis. He's kept colonies alive in his lab for over 20 years, and he's watched them do it over and over again. Age, reverse, restart. He's documented individual jellyfish reversing their life cycle 10 times. 12 times. And theoretically, there's no limit. They could do it forever. This isn't just unusual, this is biological immortality. And it shouldn't be possible. To understand how Turritopsis achieves immortality, you need to understand how jellyfish normally live. Stage 1. The polyp. A jellyfish begins life as a polyp, a tiny stationary organism attached to rocks or the seafloor. It looks more like a plant than an animal, just a few millimeters tall. Tentacles waving in the current, catching microscopic prey. And then, when conditions are right, the polyp starts budding, creating dozens of tiny baby jellyfish called ephyrae. Stage 2. The medusa. These baby jellyfish break free and swim away. They grow, they mature, they develop their bell-shaped body and trailing tentacles. This is the medusa stage, the free-swimming adult jellyfish we recognize. Stage 3, reproduction. Eventually they reach sexual maturity. They reproduce, release sperm or eggs into the water, and then, like most animals, they age. They slow down, their cells deteriorate, and they die. That's the normal life cycle. Birth, growth, reproduction, death. But Turritopsis dohrnii added a step. Stage 4. Reverse. When a Turritopsis feels threatened by starvation, injury, temperature change, or just old age, it doesn't die. It sinks to the ocean floor, and its body transforms. Its cells start reorganizing. Muscle cells become nerve cells. Nerve cells become stem cells. Specialized tissues revert to unspecialized states. This process is called transdifferentiation. And in most animals, it's impossible, because cellular differentiation is supposed to be one way: stem cells to specialized cells. Flexible to locked in. Once a cell becomes a nerve cell, it's a nerve cell for life. It can't go back. But Turritopsis can reverse it. Within 24 to 36 hours, the adult jellyfish has completely transformed into a polyp. It's gone from adult to baby, from free swimming to stationary, from sexually mature to immature. It has reset its biological clock to 0, and then, when conditions improve, that polyp starts budding again. Creating new jellyfish, one of which is itself, reborn, ready to live its life again. And it can do this indefinitely, but how? How does it avoid the biological limits that kill everything else? The Hayflick limit. Human cells can only divide about 50 times. Every time a cell divides, the protective caps on our DNA, called telomeres, get shorter. Eventually, they're too short. The cell can't divide anymore. This is called the Hayflick limit. It's why we age. But Turritopsis seems to reset its telomeres during transdifferentiation. Its cells can keep dividing forever. The genetic switch. Scientists have identified specific genes that activate during the reversal process. Genes involved in stem cell regeneration, DNA repair, cellular reprogramming. It's like the jellyfish has a genetic reset button that most animals don't have or can't access. Researchers are now trying to understand, could we activate these genes in human cells? Could we trigger transdifferentiation in damaged organs? Could we reverse aging? That's the billion-dollar question. And Turritopsis might hold the answer. Turritopsis dohrnii violates nearly every rule we have about how life works. Rule number 1. Entropy always increases. The second law of thermodynamics states that all systems move toward disorder. Order to chaos. Organization to randomness. Aging is entropy at the biological level. Cells accumulate damage. DNA degrades. Systems break down. This is universal. Happens to stars. Happens to mountains. Happens to every living thing, except Turritopsis reverses entropy. It takes damaged, aging cells and reorganizes them into pristine young cells. It moves backward, from chaos to order. Thermodynamically, this should be impossible without massive energy input, and yet the jellyfish does it with minimal energy, just whatever it has stored in its body. Rule number 2, cellular differentiation, is irreversible. In human development, stem cells become specialized. Stem cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, skin cells, etc. This is called differentiation, and it's one way. Once a neuron, always a neuron. Once a muscle cell, always a muscle cell. The genes that could make a nerve cell turn into something else are locked. Shut down permanently. This is a safety mechanism. Prevents cells from going rogue. Prevents chaos in your body. But Turritopsis unlocks those genes. It takes specialized cells, nerve cells, muscle cells, reproductive cells, and differentiates them. Turns them back into stem cell-like states, and then differentiates them into whatever the polyp needs. This is like turning a car back into raw steel, melting it down, and building a completely different car with the same atoms. Rule number 3, this should cause cancer. Here's the terrifying part. The ability to de-differentiate cells, to make specialized cells flexible again, is exactly what cancer cells do. Cancer happens when cells ignore their programming, start dividing uncontrollably, and stop following the body's rules. Turritopsis is doing something similar, unlocking genes, reversing specialization, triggering rapid cell division. By all logic, this should create tumors everywhere. The jellyfish should be riddled with cancer. But it's not. Somehow, Turritopsis maintains perfect control during transdifferentiation. Every cell transforms in coordination. No rogue cells, no tumors. Scientists don't fully understand how, but if we could figure it out, if we could trigger controlled transdifferentiation in human cells, we could regenerate organs, reverse age-related damage, maybe even cure cancer. This is why millions of dollars are being invested in studying this tiny jellyfish, because it's breaking fundamental rules of biology. And if we can understand how, we might be able to break those rules too. So if Turritopsis dohrnii can live forever, why isn't the ocean completely full of them? Because there's a catch. They can still die. Turritopsis is biologically immortal, meaning it won't die from old age, but it can die. And in the wild, but it usually does. Sea turtles eat them. Fish eat them. Other jellyfish eat them. During the polyp stage, when they're stuck to the seafloor, crabs and snails devour them. They can get sick. They can be killed by pollution. Temperature changes can kill them before they can reverse. And if the damage is too severe, if they're torn apart, they can't regenerate fast enough. Biological immortality doesn't mean invincibility. It just means won't die of old age. But everything else can still kill you. In the wild, most Turritopsis live only a few months to a year, same as regular jellyfish, despite being immortal. The laboratory paradox. In controlled lab environments where there are no predators, perfect food supply, ideal temperatures, Turritopsis can live for years, decades even. Shin Kubota has kept some for over 20 years, watching them reverse their cycle more than 10 times each. But the ocean isn't a lab. It's hostile, competitive, full of things that want to eat you. If they're immortal, why aren't they everywhere? This is the question that puzzled scientists. If Turritopsis can't die of old age and each one can reverse infinitely, their population should be exploding. They should be the most common creature in the ocean. But they're not. They're actually quite rare. The answer? Mortality rate. Over 99% of jellyfish die before reaching adulthood. They get eaten as larvae. They starve. They drift into unsuitable waters. And even when adults can reverse aging, they still have to survive the reversal process. Find a safe spot on the seafloor. Avoid predators for 24-36 hours while vulnerable. Successfully transform without being disturbed. Most don't make it. So despite having unlocked biological immortality, Turritopsis remains in balance with the ecosystem. They're not overrunning the ocean. They're just surviving like every other creature, but with one extraordinary trick. So the question everyone wants answered, could humans ever do what Turritopsis does? Could we reverse aging? The short answer, not yet. Maybe not ever, but we're trying. What we're learning. Scientists have identified some of the genes that activate during Turritopsis' transformation. Genes involved in stem cell regeneration, cellular reprogramming, DNA repair. And some of these genes exist in humans too. We have similar pathways, similar mechanisms. They're just locked, inactive. Our cells could theoretically de-differentiate, but they don't because that would be dangerous. That would be cancer. The difference is control. Turritopsis can differentiate cells in a coordinated, controlled way. Every cell follows the program. No rogue actors, no tumors. We can't do that yet. But we're getting closer. Stem cell therapy is already using limited transdifferentiation, taking skin cells and reprogramming them into neurons, taking adult cells and converting them into stem cells. This won the Nobel Prize in 2012. Dr. Shinya Yamanaka discovered you could take adult cells and reprogram them into induced pluripotent stem cells, cells that can become anything. It's not the same as what Turritopsis does, but it's similar, and the applications are growing, regenerating damaged heart tissue, regrowing nerve cells for spinal injuries, creating replacement organs from a patient's own cells. If we can understand how Turritopsis maintains control during transformation, if we can figure out what prevents cancer while still allowing regeneration, we might be able to regenerate organs without transplants, reverse age-related cellular damage, cure degenerative diseases, not immortality, but longer, healthier lives. The ethical question. But here's what no one talks about. Do we want to live forever? The Earth already has 8 billion people. If no one died of old age, resource scarcity, overpopulation, environmental collapse. Who gets access to this technology? Only the wealthy? Do people retire at 200? Have children at 150? What happens to society when death is optional? And psychologically, would life have meaning without death? Would you still take risks? Chase dreams? Value relationships? These are questions we'll have to answer if we ever crack the code. For now, Turritopsis dohrnii remains unique, the only animal that has truly conquered aging, but not death. Because in nature, nothing is truly immortal. Not really. Everything ends eventually, even if it can delay that ending for a very, very long time.